Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating and sometimes kind of weird science of why our brains make choices that seem, well, totally irrational. And then we're going to give you a powerful toolkit to actually take back control. Okay, so let's jump right in by tackling a huge assumption most of us have, this idea that we're all perfectly logical decision makers. I mean, really think about it. The last time you made a big financial call or a major life choice, was it all based on a spreadsheet of pros and cons? Or did something else, maybe a gut feeling, sneak its way in there? Check this out, because it perfectly illustrates a powerful cognitive bias called loss aversion. Ask yourself this: what feels worse, losing $100? Or how good does it feel to find $100? For almost all of us, the sting of that loss is way, way more intense. Now, rationally, these two things should be equal and opposite, but they're not. Our fear of losing is a much, much stronger motivator than our desire to gain. And that's really the bottom line here. Our decision-making is profoundly shaped by these built-in glitches. And we have to thank the brilliant minds of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman and his partner Amos Tversky for figuring this out. They're the ones who really proved that our brains are not the perfect, rational machines we thought they were. So why on earth does our brain do this? Is it just flawed? Well, not exactly. In fact, these shortcuts, they aren't really bugs in the system. You could almost think of them as features, designed for pure efficiency. Another Nobel winner, Herbert Simon, gave us this fantastic concept of bounded rationality. He basically said, look, in the real world, we don't have unlimited time or brain power. So we don't search for the absolute perfect 100% optimal solution. We just find one that's good enough. Simon used this really brilliant analogy to explain it: a pair of scissors. One blade is our own limited mind. The other blade is the world around us, the problem itself. And those two blades have to work together. We take mental shortcuts, what scientists call heuristics, just to save time and energy. And here are just a few of those shortcuts in action. You know, when you're looking for a restaurant, you don't research every single one in the city, right? You just pick the first one that looks pretty good. That's satisficing. Or when you flip a coin and get heads 3 times, you feel like it's due for tails. That's the gambler's fallacy. Kahneman called all of this fast thinking. It's super efficient, but it's also exactly where all those systematic errors in our judgment come from. Okay, so if our environment plays such a huge role in our decisions, could we actually design our environment to help us make better choices? This is the core idea behind a really popular field of behavioral economics. This is nudge theory, made famous by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. A nudge is just that, a gentle push in the right direction. It's not a rule, it's not a law, it's just a clever design. And the person doing the designing, they're called a choice architect. A classic nudge is putting the healthy food at eye level in a cafeteria. You're not banning the cake, you're just making the good choice, the easy choice. But these same principles can be used for, well, not so good things. That's what we call sludge. Think about that subscription service that makes it almost impossible to cancel. That is intentional friction, designed to make a choice harder for you. And this all brings up a really big ethical question, doesn't it? Is it okay to subtly guide people's choices, even if it's for their own good? Or does doing that stop us from learning how to make good decisions on our own? It's a pretty fascinating debate. So this leads us to a crucial pivot. What if, instead of just changing the world around us, we could actually change our internal state to make more conscious, deliberate choices? The neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman makes such a powerful point here. Real, lasting change in the adult brain, what's called neuroplasticity, it doesn't just happen by accident. It needs one thing: intense, directed focus. Your attention is literally the gateway to changing your own brain. So what's actually happening in your brain when you focus? Huberman says it comes down to a cocktail of 3 key chemicals. You've got acetylcholine, which is like a spotlight, highlighting the exact brain circuits you need to use. Then there's epinephrine, which you know as adrenaline. That's the amplifier, cranking up your alertness. And finally, dopamine. That's the engine, the motivation that keeps you locked in. When all 3 of those are released, your brain is primed and ready for change. Okay, so how do we get those chemicals flowing when we want them to? Well, here are 3 simple, totally free tools from Dr. Huberman's research that you can start using literally today. First things first, structure your work. It turns out our brains are really only good for about 90 minutes of intense focus at a time. But the key here isn't just the work itself, it's what you do after. You have to deliberately decompress, stare out a window, take a walk, just let your mind wander. But don't just switch to another high-focus task like scrolling your phone. That rest period, it's absolutely critical. Next up, a daily meditation that's backed by some solid research. For 13 minutes, you sit and try to focus on your breath. But here's the secret. The goal isn't to have a perfectly empty mind. Your mind is going to wander. The real exercise is the moment you notice it's wandered and you gently bring your attention back. Every single time you do that, it's like a bicep curl for your focus muscle. That's the work. And finally, here's a ridiculously simple warm-up for your brain. Before you start a big work session, just pick a point on your desk or on the wall and stare at it for 30 to 60 seconds. By intentionally narrowing your visual field like that, you are literally sending a signal to the concentration circuits in your brain to wake up and get ready. All right, let's bring all of this together. We've seen our brain's kind of quirky default settings, and now we actually have the tools to start customizing them. We started out by talking about how our environment can be designed to nudge us, and that's powerful. But the ultimate power, the real game changer, comes from designing our own internal environment. You are the choice architect of your own mind. So here's the key takeaway. Just knowing about loss aversion or the status quo bias isn't really enough. That's just awareness. The science of focus gives us the actionable tools to consciously override our automatic and often biased programming. It's how you write new code. By combining these big insights from behavioral economics with the practical tools of neuroscience, you can shift from being a passive passenger, just going along for the ride with your brain's weird habits, to becoming an active architect of your own mind. The tools are right there. The only question left is, when are you going to start using them?